Hi, my name is Max. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm the founder of Pogumax, a company which develops software for projection video mapping. We sell our projection kits and software to restaurants, cafes, kindergartens, schools, museums, and theaters. I'm also the founder of Hills, an online course production company. We've created more than 30 online courses in different areas and delivered it to more than 100,000 students. I'm creating this video podcast about venture capital, startups in different business niches. And the goal of this podcast is to find co founders, to launch new startups, and to get insights for your business. In this episode, my guest is Ximena Paul, a co founder and CEO of Nala Rocks, a SaaS startup which helps companies to reduce voluntary attrition and to improve employee engagement. They raised $300,000 this summer, and now they are signing contracts with huge companies up to 10,000 employees. They're operating in Latam and in the US market.
I want to talk to you today about Nala Rocks, and I want to start with a quote of Charles Darwin. I think you are familiar with this. It is not the most intellectual of the species that survives. It is not the strongest that survives, but the species that survives is the one that is able best to adapt and adjust to the changing environment in which it finds itself. So, what are the big HR trends on the market, and what is the environment in that sphere, and how Nala Rocks fits into these trends?
I would say the context starts after COVID. Okay, so when COVID came, a lot of things in the workplace changed. So companies had to rapidly implement new technologies across teams while learning how to work with people that were remote, hybrid. But work was not the only thing that changed. People changed throughout the pandemic and what they expect from their company. So now we're seeing people, it doesn't matter how old you are, you want flexibility. You want to grow and learn new things. You want autonomy. You want autonomy in your decision maker, and you want to work for a company that cares about you. So people they already went through experience with companies during the pandemic. So they're really looking for a place where they're not just working for a company, but feeling a part of the company. And right now, I would say the biggest change is that it used to be that you would look for a company that adjusted your need. Now, people expect companies to adjust to their own needs, like very rapid. Given that context, knowing as a company to identify who are the top talents within your company and what matters to them in a proactive way is extremely important if you want to make sure that you're retaining top talent within the organization. And this connects to the environment as well, because as work change and people change, the world is changing on an ongoing basis. And it's said that right now we're part of like the uncertainty era. So as a leader, you're being forced to make high impact decisions every month, basically. So it used to be in the past that maybe every 5 years you would review your strategic planning, but nowadays, like something happening in Russia or China or in Latin America will have an impact on your business in the States. So leaders are like the environment change. It's fast-paced environment. So as the companies are going through these huge challenges with systems, process, remote working, as they're dealing with like these new workforce revolutions where demands have changed and top talent have way more opportunities, at the same time, companies, it doesn't matter the industry, they're in this very volatile environment. So that's what I love so much about that quote. It's at the end of the day, it's the company that it's more effective in adapting rapidly to whatever's happening, the one that's going to have the bigger chance to survive. So how do we help with Nala? So Nala is a SaaS platform that maximizes top talent retention, like in an agile way. How do we do this? We focus on three things. So we identify talent throughout the organization. It doesn't matter if they're remote, hybrid, which team, and what matters to them. Then we quantify each employee's attrition risk. We give a number and what would be the key drivers of that attrition risk. And then we give you like full visibility of where are the main current challenges regarding your culture, like right now. Not a year before, but now, where you should focus and prioritize your attention so that as you have your talents closed, proactively engage with them so that they're going to be happy with you, you're able to really focus your resources and time on things that are actually mattering to your employees or happening in your company. So that I would say that's how we do it. And we have different features and we have a big data machine. So I would say that we help any company, doesn't matter the size, to use the power of technology to understand what's going on in an agile way so that they can make better decisions and adapt rapidly. Learn and fail fast. That's what we're trying to promote, agility within talent management.
How it works? Like, I understand that you have some polls or for employees, and they answer some questions, and you understand that someone is at the risk of attrition, or how it works. Can you tell, like, step by step?
That's a very good question. So how do we quantify each employee's attrition risk? We basically have 3 different data points. So one, it's feedback we get from the employees through quick surveys and through other features where Nala interacts with the team. So let me give you an example. Every one of our clients, they have their acknowledgement board. So throughout the day, any employee can say, you know what, I want to recognize Max because he's really living this company value. And through Nala, they can send you like a private message. But the company knows who are those people being recognized according to the values of the company throughout the company. So that's not a survey. And like that example, Nala has different areas where we're always trying to get information around 2 things. Who are those key players and what matters to them? So following up on the recognition module, like people love using it. It's one of the ones that have highest activity within our platforms. But from a leadership perspective, it allows you to understand who are those people that are making an impact on people from other teams and that are aligned with your values and what you're promoting. So for example, that is the type of features that Nala has that will provide me data from your company, besides the survey. So surveys and interaction has to do with employee feedback, one way or the other, okay? Then the other part, as Nala works with your company, we know some KPIs. So I know your salaries. I know Nala knows how much people are making according to their peers. Nala knows if that person has had a promotion in the last year. Nala knows which are the teams or the areas that have the highest voluntary turnover. That's very important for us. So when you have, and that we call that like company data. It's not about the employees, it's facts. So I can tell you, right, in a very visual way, where are the areas where you have teams that have the highest voluntary turnover. So we're really focusing on that, okay? So I understand that a company needs to make this adjustment according to changes in the environment, but what you always want to avoid is voluntary turnover because it's very expensive for a company. So the other source of data, the third one, so I told you like employee feedback, company data, and there's also, nowadays, there's a lot of public data out there that allows us to better understand with bigger data sets, what are things that matter. So let me give you an example. Like if you go to Greglist, for example, Greglist all the time, it's gathering data around employees' experience, and if they do recommend somebody according to different like categories. So Nala also brings in those trusted data sets to the analysis. So my goal is to show you as a leader or as a company, not only how you're doing and where you should focus your attention, but also how you're doing in comparison to maybe clients of Nala that are similar to you or industry benchmarks. So maybe so that way you can know, maybe having so we were actually in a meeting with a client this morning. So we were talking about new hire attrition. So this company specifically, the main challenge we're working with them is they have a huge voluntary turnover within the first 3 months. So we were able to give them like some guidelines. So they were at 17%, which is very high. You should always try to get that number to less than 10%. So what Nala does, it tells you that, like, hey, this is your company, but you should be able to get it to this. And these are the areas where you can focus so that you can maybe in 3 more months reach that goal. So those are like the 3 data points. So those 3 data points create different reports and dashboards, but regarding the employee attrition risk, Nala learns. So as we grow with clients, as we're able to provide more like global data sets or more local global sets that will help us benchmark you more, and as we have good activity from your employees, like Nala will be better at really calculating not only the employee risk, but the key drivers. So what we want at the end of the day is to tell you like, hey, Max is top talent. So he's not just a regular employee, and his attrition risk now, it's low, but these are areas that you could improve with him. So that's the type of recommendations we want. We want companies to lose 0 time in launching surveys, making reports that always get to leaders like 3 months or 6 months too late, and really focus their attention on who are those key players, what matters to them, and how can I proactively engage with them.
How you understand who are key players, who are the most talented and the most influential people?
Within the Nala methodology, we really focus on 3 things: leadership teams, like leaders, potential, and performance. So when we talk about leaders, we use 2 types of data. I know from each leader what's their voluntary attrition rate, what is their team's engagement with the company, and I know what's the team's performance. So that gives me like a score. But I also have a survey where team members evaluate their leaders according to 8 traits. And this is not Nala, this is according to the study that Google did on leadership. So Google dedicated around 8 years. They were obsessed to know what were the 8 most important things of a leader, okay? So those are the things that we ask the team, hey, your leader, thinking about your leader, how do you think your leader is according to this? So we show you that, but we show you also like these key leadership metrics so that you can have a full view. So that's talent. So we focus a lot on leadership capabilities, and we always encourage our clients to measure and ongoingly improve it. If you have good leaders, a leader still is one of the most important things for an employee within the company's experience. So if you focus on knowing who your good leaders are and keep them with you, but also helping your leaders to improve or maybe not be a leader if they don't have the right skill set, that will have an impact on your top talent retention or engagement strategy. Now, when we talk about potential, Nala bases our survey on Korn Ferry's agile methodology. So we focus your attention on people that are agile learners. Why? Because we want you to know who are those people, no matter where they are in the current organization scale, that have this skill set that makes them good to succeed in environments where things are not given. So imagining you want to open a new company, or you're taking a completely different approach, or you want to launch a new product, not everybody's ideal for those type of challenge. So we try to show you within your talent pool who are those people that have those like 5 agilities. That's potential for Nala. Some clients, they bring other ideas, so we're always like making sure that we can include them, but we focus a lot on that. And the third part is performance. Okay, so in Nala, we see performance as 4 things. Are you able to get your deliveries on time? What is the quality of your deliveries? Are you somebody that's like working hard, like perseverance? And are you having an impact on your team's goals? So this is a 360 measurement. So we're going to ask those 4 questions to your team, to your leader, a self-assessment, and to people from other places in the company that work with you. And we focus on those things and not longer surveys, because we have learned that it's a very easy way to assess somebody that you have worked with. It's very straightforward. And on the other hand, it gives the person that's receiving the feedback a very quick and easy way to understand how I can improve. So that's our goal. Like when we were talking about agility and being able to adapt, like if you have a process that measures performance once a year and it takes a year, I'm not saying it did not work in the past. I'm saying that for the current environment, you need to find a way to do this in a systematic, easy, fast way that's going to be easier for whoever is giving feedback, and especially for those who are receiving feedback, so that they can improve their performance. So we focus on those 3, so within NALA, after a few months, you should have a pretty clear idea of who your top leaders are and how you can support the lower ones, who your high potentials are, and maybe have them really identify and create cool growth plans with them, and who the top performers are, because you want those top performers engaged. So that's like our goal, and we want to show you like their progress. So maybe you have somebody that was Q1, Q2, Q3 top performer, Q4 bottom performer. So Nala will show you the history, so that it's not just now. So clearly something happened. And if he was a top performer, is there something I can do to make him again? And that's where we're always thinking. So how can I show you who are the top leaders? Not just with surveys, but also with data. How can I show you who are the key potentials?
Am I right that all this data comes from surveys of leaders and employees?
Yes and no. So it's surveys, but key metrics. So for example, leadership, it's survey. It's a survey that the team does around the leader. And as a leader of that leader, you're able to see very quickly how the team assess that leader. And Nala will tell you how to improve it. But we add to that the 3 indicators that I told you. We add to that the voluntary attrition. That has nothing to do. Like I can tell you, if you have a leader that you think is good, but voluntary attrition in that team is high, you need to double click. Because one thing is to have a good leader who has been leading like big restructuring projects, where his role is to go in and decide who's staying and taking them out because of the company's strategy. We bring that into the table, and we also bring performance. So you're a good leader if you're able to have people happy, like how the engagement is, engage. So so it's performance, it's voluntary attrition, and it's also engagement. So part of those indicators are dependent on surveys, but some of them are not. And for example, when we see performance, some of our companies, we always encourage them to have goals, okay, but very specific, like very clear goals. Nala has also like a goal and a development plan section, because in our experience, it's the best feedback is feedback from your leader, but also having your goal and understanding what can you do to achieve those goals. So when we talk about performers, it's not only what people are saying about your performance, it's also your results. But I'm not going to lie to you, a lot of companies don't have goals for their employees. So we always encourage them to find ways so that we can help them get that data fast and in an actionable way. Because if you have 8,000 employees and everybody has a goal, what you need from Nala is not access to each body's goal. You just want to know who are the ones that are better at achieving those goals, and maybe see what they're doing. And for those who are not, maybe double click and understand, are these goals reasonable? Or this is people that should not be in the team because they're literally not performing. Okay, so let me give you an example. We have a client, and he was very concerned because some of his leadership team said that the only thing they could improve performance was hiring more people. But this leader was, you know what, I'm not that sure about that. And his team has been a long time in the company. So it would be people that you would normally say, no, they have been forever with us and everything. So as they brought the data around their actual productivity, they have been a long time. They were very engaged. Everybody loved them, but their productivity level was way lower than other teams that were newer. So the feedback was like, no. But in a normal situation, if you don't have the data, you would trust your leader, of course, and you would say, okay, do whatever it takes, but we need those numbers up. Mm-hmm. So that's how we want to partner with decision makers. So at the end of the day, it's always going to be a human on the other side, applying criteria, understanding what Nala is telling to them. So we want that human being, that leader, not to be waiting for somebody to give him a report, not to be only getting a diagnostic from what people are saying, but having objective or more objective sources. So even though it's feedback from the people of the team, in my experience, as higher as you are as a leader, a lot of the most important decisions, because you have to make them fast, you will call your trusted advisors and pretty much just relay on what they're saying you. So with Nala, you get one more trusted advisor, which is Nala, and Nala will help you in a very short time have a better understanding of what questions are you going to make. What are the things that you're going to dig a little deeper before you make a high impact decision that will have an impact on your top and bottom line.
Mm-hmm. What is the average size of your client? How many people, employees are there?
So right now, my current user base, we have companies that range from 100 to 10,000. So let me double click that. So in the last month, we have been able to close contracts with larger Latam companies. So in the last 2 months, we have closed 4 big contracts with companies that go from 5,000 to 10,000 employees. We're very excited about that. For us, it's a huge milestone because it means that our product is something they need, and there is a big problem, and we can actually add value in those companies. So right now, it's a range. I can tell you that most of my clients right now, doesn't matter the size, they have distributed teams. So as a leader, they have difficulty having visibility of where people are, especially now that they went remote or hybrid. And as we continue to make progress, I would say that Nala, it's great for mid to large companies that have over 1,000 employees. Because those, I'm not saying that it will not add value if you're smaller, but it's that, when you have such a big company, it's harder to have visibility of what's going on. And it's even harder to customize your value proposition for your employees. So what we help you do is, if you have 10,000, we want to tell you who are the 500 that you really need to focus your attention, what matters to them, and what you can do about it. As Nala keeps on suggesting to everybody in your company, some resources, some tips, and other things. But we want to focus your attention. So when you have 300, maybe getting to those 30, 40, it's a challenge, but it's not that difficult. But as companies get bigger, and not only that, it's not efficient. So we have learned that a lot of our bigger clients with Nala, they're understanding which teams are more productive, which ones are not. Maybe some people that they really thought were doing an amazing job, not necessarily. They're getting different perspectives from other areas around those roles. And from a leadership perspective, leaders are getting access to what, the true experience their employees are having. So it would usually happen in these big companies that you would have the high level, C-level suite, very aligned with a great speech. So big campaign, values everywhere. This is our mission or vision. But then it's very hard to know what is actually happening, 3 layers, because you can have all the values and you can do all the videos that you want to do. But if the employee is having a completely opposite experience with their leadership on a daily basis, that's what you need to be aware of, because that's the culture, like what happens when nobody's looking. So for that C-level, even at a board level, Nala gives them visibility of what's going on and what should be those like key talent indicators that they should be like, maybe having management tell them what they're doing about them, like every 3 months. And high level management understanding if 3 layers down, that leader, it's aligned with what they're promoting. It's usually not, it's funny because it's a lot of time, it's not the C-level, it's not the higher level. They're really aligned with the culture. Let me give you an example. They're very respectful with people. They're nice people. People love them. But on a day-to-day, their teams are stuck with a leader that has nothing to do with that culture. So how would you know that if you only call your direct report? It's impossible. So with Nala, you're going to be able to see, okay, where are the areas where leaderships are down? I can go in, I can read the anonymous feedback that people are letting me, and trust me, when people want to say something because they're super excited, they write. And the other extreme as well, when they're like really pissed, if you give them a way of anonymously telling what's going on, they do it. So we give you both. And that's how we're always, Max, we're always improving. We're always working with our clients, but of course, we're very excited that right now we're like entering the big leagues. So we really want to grow with larger companies. I would say manufacturing, retail, transportation, IT, and banking and financial services. Like those are our like 5 industries that we're really targeting. And as I was saying, larger, like mid to large companies, like over 1,000 employees.
So I understand that big clients are more interesting for the business development, but do you think that your team?
Yes, but the sales cycles are very long.
So
like
half a year to.
It could be from 6 months to 12 to 2 years. So big companies, decision happens very slow, and
probably you make a pilot first for some small teams.
No, but even what we have learned so far, and again, we learn every month. So companies from 4,000 to 10,000, it takes around 4 months to get a paid pilot, and we test it out. And then 4 months after, they will give us more feedback, and they will slowly give us more people. So from the day you start to when you're fully deployed, it could be from 12 months to 24 months easily. Okay, but with bigger companies have more data. So with these new clients that are entering Nala's portfolio, they bring a lot of data that my model uses. So we add value like right away because they have all this data and they have absolutely no idea like how, like it's not their core. So they're not experts in analyzing their people data, and they're not expert in, and they don't have like the alerts, recommendation, and priority algorithm that Nala has. So they're also excited about giving like Nala the data. And in 2 weeks, they get all these dashboards, which would usually take them months. And not only that, they get recommendations, they get resources, they get a lot of things. So that's also interesting about bigger companies. In my experience, they have a lot of data. And that for me, it's super important. And we help them with that. They have already made huge investments.
What do you think about, will you have a product for small teams, for startups? And like I understood, it is not your focus, and better to go.
It's not my sales focus. So when I'm having meetings, when I told you like 4 months before we get a paid pilot, it's around 10 to 15 meetings with different people from the company. So we do have startups that are our clients. And with them, I would say that the difference would be the product, it's going to be great for them. So it's gonna add value for sure. My team is a startup. We're 15 people and we use Nala all day long. So with them, maybe they're not going to get like the 15 meetings. I cannot afford having 15 meetings with a company that's less than 100 employees. But I would say that if you're a startup, Nala would be very helpful because it may even allow you to have a strong culture and people operation without hiring more people to do those measurements. So if you want to measure like Nala, it's a great way to start. It will give you visibility and it will give you a tool to have like a more modern approach to people management. But when I say it's not my focus, it's right now like our commercial efforts are focused on those larger companies, because if you do that, eventually then you're going to get more money so that you can build like and maybe have Nala for startups, Nala for small companies. But right now our focus are mid to large companies. But I have clients that are startups.
And I know that you develop your company both in English and in Spanish languages.
And in Portuguese.
In Portuguese, cool. And do you think it's good for company growth, or maybe it's easier and better to focus on one English, maybe on English speaking markets? What do you think?
What we see now is that companies, as they grow, they tend to start regionally. So because we are focusing on Latam and the US, like the three languages that you like, if you start, for example, in Peru or Colombia or Chile, and you want to expand, the Brazilian market, it's extremely huge. It's half of Latin America's like numbers. So it's very common in Latin America that companies face the challenge that as they want to tackle a Brazilian market, there's a culture barrier. So they get partnerships, they hire people, but it's not easy to get feedback. So what we do in Nala is that as a user, you pick your language. So if I have my team works in Brazil, maybe, so I'm from Chile, I speak Spanish. Half my team is in Brazil, they speak Portuguese and English as me. So we work in English, but I would rather see the data or the recommendations in Spanish. They want to give, I want them to give me the feedback in the language they feel the most comfortable with. And then the second expansion that happens in Latin America, it's to the US or Canada. So that's where English kicks in. So that's why from the start, we saw it that way. And eventually maybe other languages, but we really think that if you want people to give feedback, it needs to be very easy for people. So language is one thing, and then it needs to add value. And that's the second component. So we make it easy with the language feature, and we make it valuable because every time you give information to Nala, Nala will give you something in return. So if you are, I don't know, if you're answering the performance surveys, you will get like in a week your own performance assessment, like really fast feedback and all the comments so that you can create an action plan. So if you're a leader and you're promoting your team to evaluate you as a leader, Nala will give you your assessment, but it would also recommend you some resources that you could start looking with the key areas of improvement. If you are somebody new to the company, Nala will tell you what are the skills that you need to develop if you want to become high potential, and it will explain to you what. So we're always trying to add value. Like if you're a leader, you want data fast, easy, and make decision. If you're an employee, you want to know how you're doing because you want to improve and you want to know what other opportunities are in. If you're HR, you need to stop losing time doing surveys and reports and focus your attention on really building the right culture, working with the leaders. So it's those two things. And with language, let me give you an example. I used to work in a company here in the US. I'm currently based in South Florida. And we had people in Latin America and people in the United States. So we had the language barrier. So what do? Everybody spoke English, okay? But every time we would try to do something in English, even though everybody understood, like the level of participation was lower. So as soon as we were able to provide Spanish for Spanish speaker, like it was easy for them. You knew that they were understanding what you were asking. And we got a lot of valuable data in return. And we were able to then in return give something back to them. So with Nala, you don't have to worry about that. And right now we have not, like I told you, like our focus is to keep on growing in Latam as we're expanding to the US. So we're not, even though we're having demos and meetings with people from all over the world, like our effort is to create a really awesome product for this market. But we're building, like by design, it should be multi-language. But right now, like I need to focus. I either improve the English component or I add the German. But right now, my clients are more with English, so I'm going to focus on the English. Being a startup is a lot about focusing your effort. So, because we see the future of work being multicultural, we think that companies will have this challenge more and more and more. So even though we didn't have any Portuguese client at the beginning, we did the code, like the algorithm behind the platform, in a way that we can always add new languages.
And now most of your customers are in Latam, and maybe you have some in English in the US.
Yes, I actually have one client right now. They have operations in Latam, but they're also in 22 states in the USA. So they have that challenge. And they're looking to expand to Brazil. So they were very happy when they knew that we also had the Portuguese, because you really value, like if you have an international team, you really value having visibility of what's going on no matter the language. So if you're expanding to Brazil, you don't want to do twice the same thing. You want to be able to launch a survey that everybody's going to get, and you're going to get all the data that you need in one place, which is Nala. And you want to know that the experience for your employees is going to be nice as well.
Can you name some competitors to Nala?
Yes, of course. So this is how we see it. So on one side of the competitor landscape, we have companies that are using technology to like make traditional HR digital. So for example, on one end, I have like ADP, I have SuccessFactor, and I have other Latam startups that the main difference with them, it's some of them are cheaper, some of them are more expensive, but the common denominator is that they are focusing on making HR digital, the traditional HR. On the other side, where we put Nala, are tech solutions that are focusing on like key people metrics that drive business performance. So on our side, you're going to see tech solutions that are focusing on culture, engagement, performance, leadership. And on that side, some of our competitors are companies like Lattice, Culture Amp, Workday. They're big players, but as of now, they have a very long and costly implementation process. So implementation and onboarding is not easy, and it's expensive. So a lot of companies cannot afford them, not just because of the money, but because they don't have a team to solely focus on how you set up. So Nala, within that group, it's focusing on top talent retention. That's the problem that we're always trying to solve and help our companies achieve. And we are very, very obsessed about easy setup and rapid implementation. We can be working with your team in a week. So we are, and our price, it's way more competitive than the other solution. So that's like our differentiator. But yes, we do compete with those companies. And it's different in Latam than in the US. But like I'm saying, like we're trying to build like this, like our differentiators is we're talent retention focused. Like easy user-friendly setup. You don't have to be an expert in Excel or in technology to be able to implement Nala. It's very user-friendly. And then it's cost-effective. Like our prices are lower. And we're able to give you like a very complete and to the bone product that will help you effectively address the issue at a lower price. Why that is, I don't know. I see that a lot of the solutions, they include a lot of things more than we do, but I'm not sure if those things are actually targeting the real problem. So we really want to focus. Like focus it's very important for us. So you're not going to find 1,000 features in Nala. Whatever feature we're giving you, it's because it will help you to maximize talent attrition in an agile way, and will help you make better decisions with your team and your company on the short term.
Thank you, Ximena. Can you tell a bit about fundraising process in Nala. You've got 400K pre-seed stage. How was it?
So when we decided that we wanted to scale more, that we already had an MVP that made sense, and we had clients, we did this pre-seed round, and our main focus with that was to bring in like tech entrepreneurs that had already gone through this process. So if you see like our angel investors, you're gonna find like Anne Martel or Daniel Unduraga. They're very known in Canada and in Latin America because they have already exited their companies in a very successful way, and they were tech companies. Okay, so they have that thing. So for me, the fundraising part was not hard because I went straight to angel investors that I knew were going to understand that what we were doing was good. People that had already been through the situation of like growing a company in a very competitive environment. And we thought that they were going to be the best advisors given our stage. So right now, as we are continuing to close contracts in Latam, we're looking to expand to the US. So I would say the next month, I'm not raising money, but we're actively like really getting a better understanding of the US market and what would be the right go-to strategy be. So it's very likely that around February, March, we're gonna be doing like our first seed round so that we can get more money, so that we can grow more aggressively in Latin America, where we already have like the user cases and the base and the experience, as we keep on getting ready for the US market, which is a different approach. But I don't wanna go out and talk with funds before we have a clear short-term execution, because I would say, especially now, their funds are it's not easy to raise money. So what we have seen is that they're gonna assess founders, but they're also gonna assess our business model and how likely it is that our strategy makes sense. They're not gonna give you money just to burn. So that's why I'm not going now to ask for money. I want to have a very clear strategy and more user cases from Latin America, and then that may be our next goal. But again, thank God we're making progress month over month, and these angel investors that I'm telling you about, they're extremely supportive.
How many they are? They are just
5 angel
five.
investors. The other money comes from family and friends.
How many investors were in your funnel?
I think I was very lucky, because before we fundraised, we had like this big article on a Latam media press. So people that were close to me, that reached out to me, like family and friends, they were like, I want to invest, can you get me in? So I did not call anybody, they called me. And then with the angel investors, I would say 3 got away. Like, so I also was very like, I'm very into like focusing. So I'm like, okay, I can call 120, or first do a little research and really understand the 15 that I know that are giving money right now, that are good at investing in this type of entrepreneurs, and to whom I have some level of connection. So let me give you an example. The guys from Corner Shop, which was recently acquired by Uber, they're one of our investors. So Mafe, my co-founder, she used to work at 2 big Latam tech companies. So they knew from the past, they had worked with her. So we knew they had the money, we knew they were angel investors, and they knew Mafe. And they knew that Mafe was an expert on this. So it was very fast to get that money, because they knew the person, they knew the problem firsthand, and they were in a moment where they were actively like deciding who they were going to give money. And Martel, on the other side, we went to graduate school together at Kellogg. So I knew that she had not only exited very successfully, but she was very passionate about HRTech, because we have had that conversation in the past before I was with Nala. So when I reached out to her, first I wanted to show her their product. I wanted her feedback. But as we were showing the product, then she asked me like, hey, are you looking for investors? And the cool thing about this, and I think the research was very important, was that right now, out of those 5 angel investors, one of them is very, very occupied with their own startup. So they're getting ready for an IPO. So that's basically his whole week all the time. But the other 4, I can always call them, and they have been great advisors. And I think that's because they know one of the founders and they know the problem, or they're passionate about the problem. So it's been good. But as we move forward to the next stage, I would love for them to, again, support us again. But my target is to get some funds. So we want to like make that more professional step to show the market that we are ready for that. And also to get the access to funds that will help us to escalate like our plan and getting the right connections with the right people. Because in our experience, funds, they have more experience with that. They're looking at their exit. So they want you to succeed. Again, as with angel investors, we will not go and talk with everybody, but I do know that given the current state, I think the list is going to be around 150. So a friend, like not a friend, somebody, an acquaintance from JP Morgan that it's very active on raising capital told me like 2 years ago, for a deal, I would have 50 meetings and I would get 5 deals. These days, I'm getting 200 meetings and I'm getting 5 deals out of 200, and it's taking longer. So taking to her advice, she's an expert. She does this for a living on every single week. I'm thinking that I'm going to be able, I will need to focus my attention on 200 funds that meet our thesis, but especially who I think could be a great partner for us. I have also a big support networks of founders, some of them with very concerning stories about bad experiences with funds. So I want to be careful. Right now, Nali is growing. We have a great team. We're small. So if I don't find the right match, I would rather just keep on working, maybe slower pace with my current investors, which I can trust and they support us, and not get somebody in just because of the money. We're not desperate. I think we're lucky that way because we have investors that support us, and we have a model that it's getting great feedback from clients, it's growing, and we're seeing progress. So we're in a good moment, I think.
If you have already, I suppose, several thousand, maybe more customers who pay per each employee, are you profitable or not right now? Because if you have small team, and what is your revenue now?
No, my revenue now, it's around $15,000 per month. So an ARR of 240, but our projections are telling us that in the next 3 months, that's gonna increase a lot because of all these bigger clients that are making progress in our pipeline. Again, we have a small team, but my current burn rate is $20,000 a month. So why am I telling you this? Because in our experience, it's you need to raise, if you need to keep your team working, like the team that I have now, I need 20K per month. So raising to 40K with investors that have already trusted you, it's not hard because we are getting good feedback, because we're getting traction. So that's why I'm not concerned, because we have a very low burn rate. And it's money that I have already like secured by investors that are supporting now. Of course, they all want to get funds in and get more money. They also want a return on their investment. But they're very excited about the feedback we're getting from clients and the fact that we're able to get to these bigger clients. That for a startup that's B2B, it's a huge milestone. So we're making the right progress. And so that's why I'm telling you that we're not profitable, but we will be, like, according to our plans, in 6 more months, we're going to be profitable. If everything goes along, and that's not like an unrealistic approach. I think it's a very realistic scenario. So we're happy about that. And again, if in 6 more months I'm profitable, I don't need funds, unless I want them. So it's a good place to be. It's a good place to be. Raising money when you're almost profitable, it's a good place.
So my last question is, what opportunities do you see in the HR field now? If you were going to launch a new startup, not Nala Rocks, but some other idea, what would this idea be?
Well, I think there's like, as we're focusing on talent and visibility, I think that so we're in the workforce and talent management space within HRTech. But I do see, as companies grow bigger and more global, there's not that, like, for example, in Latin America, it's very hard for companies to have payroll under one platform. So payroll is a very administrative HR focus, which companies will continue to do. And there's I think there's a big pain there, because it's hard to get the analytics on payroll, and it's very inefficient how most companies solve it right now. So I think there's a big challenge. What we're seeing is that some companies are starting by country. So the good thing about talent is that it's not regulatory. So I don't care about countries. I can actually, Nala is already in 8 countries, and I can be in 20. And my employees of my clients work in 40 locations worldwide. So I don't have a geographical barrier. So for those HR areas that do have a geographic constraint, regulatory, I think that whoever is able to give them a solution that is regional, it's going to be good, because the ones that exist right now, again, are painful. The implementation is expensive. You need a big tech team inside. So not everybody can access SAP. Okay, and SAP is not user-friendly at all. It's hard. It works, but it's hard. So I think that would be one thing. And the other thing, I think on the benefit side, so I see a lot of our clients using Nala to better design benefit plans or compensation plans. So I think that platforms that are going to be able to make companies, like, give companies access to different type of benefits, so that they can know what matters, and like give you, like, I remember one person telling me 3 months ago, he was like, I know that everybody has new needs, but how do you expect me to know what he has 3,000 employees? He was like, I cannot, like, I could, like, doing interviews, it's not sustainable. So they asked me to help them understand from the 3,000 who they should focus their attention on. But then the next part is, okay, how do you make that reality? So how are you able to provide benefits that are not on compensation solely, but are on other areas? So Nala's attrition risk model focuses on 7 areas that are important for people regarding work. So balance, collaboration, leadership, compensation, and other things. So I think that allowing companies to have access to different type of benefits that, like, in a scalable way, it's also a challenge. And last but not least, I see remote. Like, I know right now, Max, what we're seeing is a big fight between leaders and employees. So companies are obsessed about bringing people in. We think it's a mistake, because as new, younger people enter the workforce, for them it's not realistic. They won't go. So maybe the older ones are happy about coming back, but it's not systemic. So as a company, you need to have tools that will help you work remotely. So right now, let me give you a fun fact. So one of the main issues some companies in the United States are facing right now is overemployment. So they have people working remotely. They don't know if these people are being productive or not, because they don't have the right tools to measure performance, but they have like 3 jobs. So you have these people that you're paying salary every month, that other people are doing their work. There's overemployment, but how do you get visibility on that? So productivity and how you measure productivity in a remote environment, I think, remains a challenge. And I don't see that trend going away. It's only going to increase. It's a problem that's going to be there. So it doesn't matter how much you try, like to, in Chile, we say like, cover the sun with one finger. Like it's coming. It's a wave. You either ride the wave or you're gonna get like crushed by the wave. So focus right now on making those decisions. So I do think that it's a demand that's going to increase more and more and more and more. Even in manufacturing, like industries are becoming more like things that happen in a storage are being done by robots. But you have people from home managing those robots and doing things. So people that would normally be within a storehouse, now they're in the home with new tools. So like it's gonna change because people say, yeah, but my industry, no, your industry will. Anything that's mechanic, you're gonna have more talented people, more specialized, more expensive, you need to have them. And even the most like weird industries are moving to that. And it's not, again, it's not just the industry and technology, it's what people want. So get on board. Like this is what Gen Z's want, Gen X want. Like as soon as you face that, it's good.
Do you think there is some opportunity for people living abroad of the US to be hired in the US because the difference in salaries might be several times? And if people know English and they have some additional education for demanded jobs in the US, what do you see about this?
Right now, I can tell you there's a lot of HRTechs that are focusing on remote salaries. So nowadays, a lot of our clients are actually within Nala. They have people that are hired like with a contract and everything, and people that are like vendors. So it's more common that people from abroad will get like vendor agreements. So you get like a monthly salary. There are platforms now that can help you do that without any liability for the local company. And they're actually seeing like what's better, because yeah, if I have a local employee in the US and I have to pay all these other things, and it's not as productive as the one that is maybe from Peru, at the end of the day, as a company, if I can pay, it doesn't matter if I pay them the same. I'm not going to be incurring a lot of extra costs that I have to do with here. So, but again, if you hire people from Peru, but you have no clue, like what are their goals and what's like a productive employee given that role, you're only going to increase your maybe salary, but maybe your productions level are going to go down. So I do see, like, let me give you an example. So Nala is in the US, our companies all over the world. And most of my employees, they would rather they love the flexibility, the culture, the fact that they can work from wherever they want. And because they value that, they don't mind like the different type of contracts. They value the other things more. So again, at one point, that's going to be that's going to be scaled. And what we see also is that salaries are going to, like, I already see it like in the tech space. So when you're hiring developers, good developers, it doesn't matter where they are. It's pretty, they know how much they cost. What I think is going to happen is that maybe you're not going to, for example, somebody from Peru is not going to make the exact money he would be making in the United States, but he's going to be able to make way more money than if he was working in Peru. So that's like and I don't see this happening for everybody, but for talent, for sure. And going back to Nala's focus, if you're not able to engage your talented people nowadays have way more opportunities. So they're going to go. They're going to find it somewhere else. So.
Thank you, Ximena. It was so interesting to listen to what are trends now.
Thank you, Marisa, for all the patience. Yes. Thank you so much.